Today I choose to live with gratitude for the love that fills my heart, the peace that rests within my spirit, and the voice of hope that says all things are possible.
Stay connected to gratitude. Hit the follow button right now and join thousands of listeners tuning in each week. We're the Gratitude Seekers. Come join us. Hi, Gratitude Seeker. Welcome to a new episode of the Gratitude Podcast. Today with us, we have a wonderful human being that for 58 years has been dedicated to education in Houston. And she's been doing some pretty amazing things in her high school, in the high school that she ran for 17 years. And she has been the recipient of a $10 million grant through Super School project from Laurene Powell Jobs, the wife of late Apple CEO Steve Jobs. Her name is Bertie Simmons, and now at age 86, she launched Whispers of Hope, the story of my life. And there was a pretty interesting thing that happened that never happened before, and I'm really grateful that Bertie agreed to do this again, because the first time that we did this, I forgot to record, and I'm really grateful for her that she wanted to do this again. Bertie, welcome to the Gratitude Podcast.
Thank you, and I'm actually glad I'm getting to do it again because I like you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I guess things happen for a reason. Somehow we will see what that reason is. And you've shared the first time that we did this some amazing stories, and I'm really looking forward to hearing them again because they were so inspiring, and I'm sure that our listeners would love to hear them. So let us know a little bit more about you.
Well, I grew up in North Louisiana. I was born during the Depression, and my family was very poor. It was also during the Jim Crow era, and it was also the Bible Belt, which seemed to me always to be a contradiction because of the way Black people were treated. And I had a friend at that time when I was 15, who was Black, and I saw some terrible things happen to her family, actually because of me, because she and I had gone into town. We had gathered scrap iron to help win the war, and we each sold it. We sold it, and each of us got 4 quarters, and we thought we were rich because we were so poor. And she and I went into town to get ice cream. And when we got there, I was going in the front, and Dorothy pulled her hand from me, and she said, "I can't go in there." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I'm colored." And I said, "You're colored?" And so I made a huge mistake because I said, and I'm going to my colored friend to the back. And I should not have done that because awful things then began to happen to Dorothy and her family because of what I did. And so at the age of 15, I decided that I was going to devote the remainder of my life to making the world a better place for all people and to stop having people be treated the way I had seen her family treated. So that made a huge difference. And I fought all my life now for social justice as a result of my experience at 15 with my friend Dorothy.
Wow, that's amazing. And when we think about experiences that we had that really made a difference in our life and that took us on a specific path. This is beautiful that you've managed to gather your inner resources and be the change and work for the change in the world so that these kinds of things won't happen to other people. I think this is beautiful. And I also wanted to ask you, what is gratitude for you? Like, what is your definition of gratitude?
Gratitude to me is feeling joyful, being filled with love, and uh, expressing that by helping other people to feel the same joyfulness and love that I feel, and to do it at the moment of when I'm with them. Because it's important not just for me to feel that joyfulness and love, but that I share it with others so that they could have the same experience.
That's beautiful. It even more so take into consideration what you managed to do in the high school that you ran. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I had been retired 5 years, and I got a call from the superintendent saying, "We want you to go to this throwaway school," is what it was called, to be the principal. And I knew that school because it'd been in the paper a lot, and it was filled with gangs. It was really gang infested, and it was known for violence. And the state had labeled it a dropout factory, and it was known as a direct path from high school to prison for other students there. And so I said, no, I don't want to go. And so they called me the second time. They said, we want you to go. And so the third time they called me, I had just lost a granddaughter, Ashley Finley. She was 16 years old, and she died in a skiing accident. And Ashley and I were very, very close. She was my first grandchild. And she had always said to me, Nana, tell me the Dorothy story. And when I would tell her about my Black friend, she would say, Nana, I'm going to grow up and make the world a better place for all people. And of course, she couldn't because she died. And so I thought, I will go to that school, even though I don't know what I'm doing, but I will go and I'll try to make the world a better place to leave a legacy for my granddaughter, Ashley Finley. So I went.
A collection of brand new limited time recipes made with sustainable, earth-friendly ingredients await you this month with Green Chef plus 60% off. It's Earth Month, and to celebrate it, not only do you get premium recipes featuring sustainably sourced food with a low carbon footprint, but for every box sold, Green Chef, through their partner One Tree Planted, plants a tree in northern Thailand to combat food insecurity in vulnerable communities. Bring more flavor to your table while reducing food waste by up to 23% compared to grocery shopping. Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. I love switching between the brands, and now you, my dear gratitude seeker, can enjoy both brands at a discount with me. Being vegetarian, I love eating farm-fresh, nutritious food, and spring is the best time to enjoy all the rejuvenating flavors that nature offers us. But if you prefer vegan, keto, protein-packed, Mediterranean, fast and fit, or gluten-free, Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well, has you covered. Go to greenchef.com/gratitude60 and use code gratitude60 to get 60% off plus free shipping. You heard that right. Go to greenchef.com/gratitude60 and use code gratitude60 to get 60% off plus free shipping. That's amazing. That's amazing. And the things that you were able to do there are just wow. And I'm really honored that you are here with us and that you're sharing this story with us, because it's like you said, it's a great way for us to get more hope in our life and to understand that there is hope. And I would really appreciate it if you would share with us how you managed to turn things around there, because there wasn't much hope when you got there.
Actually, there was nothing but violence, and I am a hope whisperer because I've always had hope since a very early age. And one day I came on campus and there had been a riot and everybody in the school was involved in it. And ambulances were taking police officers and students away to the hospital. And so I just was perplexed. I didn't have any notion what to do when I entered that school. And when I got there, I found out our district required that you send gang members to an alternative school just to get them off campus. But I didn't believe in that because I never saw that it made any difference in their behavior. All it did was get them out away from us. But I never saw them. They would usually come back in worse condition. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to send them away. So my assistant principal said, you will surely be fired. And I said, maybe that would be a blessing at that time. And I said, I'm not sending them. And then another rule was that you never, ever bring warring gangs together. And at that time, we had 17 different gangs on the campus. But I brought them all together into a room to talk to them. And my assistant principal said, you'll probably be gone soon because they're going to fire you because that's 2 rules you broke. And I said, I can't help that. They broke a rule when they asked this old woman to come out of retirement to come to this school.
Exactly.
So I have to do what I think is right for these kids. And I got them in there, and at first they wouldn't talk. They were just mean mugging. And I didn't know how to mean mug them back, but they were mean mugging each other and mean mugging me. But finally, I just got them to talking. And I learned that they didn't think 9/11. This was right after 9/11. And they said they didn't think that happened. And I said, what? I know it happened. And one kid said, Miss, if you believe that, you're dumber than we are. And so I said, I didn't know what to do with it. Finally, I said, what if I took you to ground zero to see it happen? Would that make you believe in the system and believe in me more? And there was dead silence. Finally, a kid said, Miss, will you drive us? And I said, no, I can't drive you. I'm an old woman and you're a bunch of thugs. And for some reason, me calling them thugs made them, I don't know, maybe it's because an old white woman calling them thugs. They started laughing. And then they started talking with me. And so, of course, the district told me they would not support me in doing that. And I couldn't get any money. And I wondered how I was going to get the money because that was in August and I was going to take them the following June. And so the teacher said I was rewarding the wrong behavior, that I should be rewarding the smart kids. And I thought, I'll bet some of these gangsters are smart kids. But anyway, I decided to take the National Honor Society. Now, you know, that's a lot of money to take that many people to New York. And I didn't have that money. But fortunately, I was working with some consultants. And one happened to be the mother of Jon Stewart on Comedy Central. And somehow they all heard what I was trying to do. And I started getting money from everywhere. And I got enough money to take all those kids, including the National Honor Society, to New York. And it completely changed. They signed a contract. There would be no gang fights that year. And so I took gangsters. I think there were 32 of them. And then I took 9 members of the National Honor Society. None of the teachers would help me as chaperone. They said, we're going to stay here and watch you have gang fights in New York City. But I got my friends and my relatives, my daughter and granddaughter, and we took those suckers to New York City, and we didn't have any trouble. I even took them to a Broadway play, 42nd Street. And when I was going, the kids, Hispanics said, Miss, is this going to be mariachi? And I said, no. And the black said, is it going to be hip hop? And I said, no. So they really want to go, but then they asked me if I'd take them back the second night once they'd been there. But a funny thing happened. I walked in that little chapel there, Ground Zero, and I saw them all kneeling at the front. And so they came up to me, and one of the kids said, Miss, I bet you didn't know that we prayed. And so I said, oh, I'm sure you're praying for someone who lost family or friends here in Ground Zero. And this kid said, no, Miss, we're praying that plane won't crash on the way back to Houston, because they were scared to death of flying. They'd never flown. Most of them had never been out their neighborhoods. And I just fell in love with them more because they were showing a vulnerability, even though they were covered in tattoos and trying to be tough. I even became a gangster because I just fell in love with them, and I understood their culture better. So that made all the difference in the world, because we never had gang fights after that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I think this has a really beautiful root that that you had, like the education that you had from your mom about this. And I would really appreciate it if you would tell us the story of the black dot, and of course all of it, like not just about the black dot, but your situation in school before that lesson from your mom.
Well, when I was a younger kid, my mother made me think I could do anything. We were extraordinarily poor. And I thought I was so bright until I went to school. And I was in first grade and I couldn't read. And I was just, I didn't know what to do. And we had round robin reading. And the first kid in the row would read a paragraph, and then the next kid. And the closer it got to me, the time for me to read, my heart was just pounding, and I was sweating, and I put my head on my desk because I knew I didn't know one word on that page. And the teacher would always say, Ed.D, Jean, go show Bertie how to read. And so Ed.D Jean came with her little clickety-clack patent leather shoes, and she had ringlets, and they were just bouncing, and I can still see her skirt bouncing. And she would come over and tell me to read, and I couldn't read. And so I would just put my head on her little patent leather shoes with lace-topped socks, and I just hated. I wanted to go home. And Ed.D Jean would say, read, and then finally she would read it for me, and then she would clippity-clack back to her seat. And so one day I went home, and I said to my mother, I want to drop out of school. I was in first grade. And I said, because I hate Edna Jean Kennedy. And my mother said, tell me why you hate her. And I said, because she's always trying to make me read when I can't read. And I don't like the way her ringlets bounce and all that. So my mother took out a sheet of paper, and with a pencil, she put a black dot in the middle of it. And she said, what do you see here? Tell me. And I thought, I'm going to pass this test. And I said, I see a black dot. And she said, that's the problem you're having with Edna Jean Kennedy, because all this white is around here, and you're ignoring it, and you're just zeroing in on the black dot because she makes you feel so badly about yourself. And so she said, I want you to go back to school tomorrow, and I want you to find something good about Edna Jean Kennedy. And I didn't want to do that. And I said, no, but I did. So I started looking that next day, and I realized Edna Jean was very intelligent. And I just loved intelligent people, even though I couldn't read. And so we became close friends. And when my mother died, Edna Jean Kennedy was at her funeral. But that taught me a lesson, because when I went back home and I told my mother that I saw some good in her, she said, what I want you to spend the rest of your life doing is looking beyond that black dot. you look for good in people, not for what makes you feel bad or something that you find that's wrong with them. Capitalize on what's good. So focus on all the white around the black dot instead of focusing on the black dot. So I have spent my life uh, looking beyond the dot in people.
This is such an amazing story, and even hearing it once again, it's still so impactful, and I'm sure that our listeners feel the same way. And the fact that such a simple idea can have such a big impact in someone's life and in other people's lives, because I believe that from that simple idea that stuck with you, the lives of so many people were positively influenced, isn't it?
Well, I know that happened. Yes, I've tried to do that with everybody. And I think that's one of the things that helped me with the gangsters. Because number one, what I found once I went there, I thought that because I'm white and old, they don't want me here. But what I found was the Hispanics and blacks really loved their grandmothers. So they sort of saw me as a grandmother. And I kept looking beyond the dots in what they were doing wrong that made the teachers dislike them. And so we all became intimate friends, close friends. And I think all of it went back to that day when my mother told me, I want you to quit zeroing in on the black dot. Look beyond that for good in people. And that just stayed with me. And it's worked. And what I found with the gangsters was that when you show respect and love, it's reciprocal. You get it back from them. And so that's what caused us to have a wonderful relationship, not only with the students, but with the parents as well in that school.
Yeah, and I know that you have a really different perspective on um, positive reinforcement versus punishment, and what actually worked in your school.
Well, I had most people, uh, we were required to suspend the kids or to expel them if we could. To me, punishment has never worked. My mother didn't punish me. She used something to teach me. And so we didn't have suspensions or expulsions. We had what we called restorative discipline. And we had a room where we had a mediator. So if there was a trouble between kids or among kids or with teachers and students or with parents, they could all go there and work with a mediator. And the point of it all was to restore relationships. And we had 16 habits of mind that help people be successful in life. And before they left that thinkery, they had to choose a habit of mind that they were going to work on uh, to restore the relationships that they had, rather to continue uh, to fight or to be angry. And that worked just beautifully at that school with the kids and with the parents.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing what one person with a good heart and with the ability to see beyond that black dot can do, and how much impact that can have in people. It's beautiful to see that we are able to do this, and I'm sure that all of our listeners will be thinking about those small things that they can do to see the whole picture and not just the black dot. I think it's something very powerful that we can all think about at the end of this interview. And since we are nearing the end, I also wanted to ask you, who are some people in your life that you're grateful for?
I was really grateful for my mother because she taught me such simple things that just made me grateful and helped me to spread gratefulness. and help other people to be grateful. She taught me all of those things, and she taught it in such a simplistic way. And then I had a teacher named Mrs. Ewan who saw something good in me that I'd not been able to see in myself. And it was because of her that I went to college, and because I had to run away from home to go to college. And that's helped me to be who I am today. Of course, my family. I have a very good friend, Sharon Kuntz, who's always been there, egging me on with my craziness because I've always thought outside the box, and I've behaved in ways that was not always what everybody else did. I always have done what I thought was right to help the other individual and to bring joy into their life. And so I have a lot of people that it helped me to be grateful, and I'm grateful for them.
I'm grateful for you as well, because it makes me feel so good knowing that there are people like you in the world that have done this with their life, that have put themselves in the service of others and have had the courage to be different and to do things differently and to get different results that are very necessary and sometimes don't happen just because there aren't other people that have the kind of courage that it's necessary for these kinds of changes to take place. So that's pretty amazing.
I agree, and I think that that's what has given me the will and the courage and the hope that we can change and make the world a better place for all people. And that's why I'm still fighting for social justice. And right now, I'm finding that a lot of my hope is in the young people, because I see that their eyes have been opened in a way that I've never seen before. So I think if we keep working at it, and I love what you're doing with gratitude, because I've talked to a lot of people, but not about gratitude. And that's where it is all from. That's where it comes. That's what's going to make the difference. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know that you have a beautiful quote to share with us about gratitude that connects gratitude and hope beautifully.
Yes. And I'd like to go to my webpage. It's bertiesimmons.com. And the book can be Whispers of Hope, the story of my life. I've always been a hope whisperer. And all of that is in the book. And you can get that at Barnes & Noble's. You can also get it on Amazon. And I think you might like it because since you're talking about gratitude, I've spent my whole life being grateful, feeling gratitude, and sharing it with others. So, and I live in Houston, Texas now, and so I'd love to connect with other people who believe in gratitude and who practice it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that with us. You can get the book on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and if you would like to end with the quote that you mentioned the first time that we did this, I think it's beautiful.
Well, my favorite quote it's anonymous. I don't know who wrote it, but it says, "Today I choose to live with gratitude for the love that fills my heart, the peace that rests within my spirit, and the voice of hope that says all things are possible."
Wonderful. This is a beautiful idea to end this interview with. All things are possible, and I'm very happy that you are an example of that, and your story is an example of that. And I think it's really beautiful, the fact that you are a living example, and we are all inspired by you, and I'm sure that you will inspire many as well.
And thank you. You inspire me. So thank you very much for having me on your program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Hey, Gratitude Seeker, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this interview. I really appreciate it. And if you could think of one person that would also benefit from it, share it with them. It might actually be the inspiration that they need to make their day or maybe even their life much better. Thank you so much once again. This has been Georgian Benta. Don't forget to keep seeking and spreading gratitude.